Welcome to the Healthy Christian Leader. I'm Dwight Habermehl. Come join me in the living room for some honest conversations. I'll be talking to guests about their journey with Christ through the joys, the challenges, and the messiness of leadership. There's always something to learn from someone's story, so let's get started. Well, hello, friends, and welcome to the Healthy Christian Leader. I'm Dwight Habermehl, and I have our guest today, Dave Witt, all the way from Hamilton, Ontario. And Dave, it's so great to connect with you today.
Yeah, great to be with you, Dwight.
Thank you for taking the time to come on the program. Dave, you lead True City in Hamilton. Tell us about True City. What is it?
Yeah, True City is a network of churches in Hamilton, churches that have entered into partnership with each other to find ways to be a blessing to our city. So they're congregations that have found ways to begin to relate more deeply to each other towards the goal of being churches together for the good of our city.
Oh, that's so awesome. And you would be like a brother or sister city movement to us here in Atlantic Canada with the Aaron Ministry Network.
Yeah.
And amazingly, there's city movements right across our nation. People may not be aware of that, but there's 30 of them that gather together on City Leaders Collective Canada.
Yeah. It's been really great to be able to connect more broadly and hear the diversity and the commonality of what's going on in different cities.
It is really amazing, and it's something the Holy Spirit has raised up because they're all independent movements of which God has connected. It's not under some umbrella. It's really kind of a fellowship of those who've been moved by the Spirit to work in different cities. So anyway, Dave, we were going to talk about healthy leadership in high-demand citywide initiatives.
Sure.
And I want to just begin by asking the question, when leaders step into citywide or large citywide initiatives, what mindsets or practices help them stay grounded and energized from the beginning? Because it's got to be something to lead a local church and then try and be involved also in a city movement.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think, as I reflect on it, I feel like there's a couple of groups of people that are really crucial for leaders to be connected to and to make sure that there's those kind of that presence in their lives. So, I would assume that for most leaders, they would already have a few friends, some close companions that are regularly speaking into their lives, and I think making sure that continues, that doesn't get moved out of their lives when they make this kind of move is really crucial. And then the other group would be some trusted intercessors. I think to have people who are committed to praying for you. Obviously, in these kinds of roles, confidentiality is hugely important. So the integrity of those people is crucial. But having people that you can go to pray for specific needs when they arise, and having a group that knows you well and can speak into your life and keep you grounded. Those are practices I think are really, really important.
That's so good. And, so often we overlook the intercession part and those who are covering us in prayer. Mm-hmm. And, when you're stepping up from a local church scenario and getting involved in a city movement, you're widening the kingdom influence and the kingdom impact. So, there is a degree where, you want covering, spiritual covering and prayer as you begin to widen that kingdom impact.
Yeah. I think the spiritual warfare realities of what happens in citywide efforts is something we need to pay good attention to because that comes up regularly in different ways, insidious ways, but important ways for us to pay attention to.
Yeah, I don't think the enemy wants to see the body of Christ working together towards
Right.
health and harvest.
Yes.
And so maybe, Dave, what we could do is do a program on that sometime in the future,
Sure.
because I think that could be a whole discussion in and of itself.
Yeah.
Dave, what have you seen leaders do well that enables them to carry significant responsibilities without losing joy or clarity?
Yeah, I would imagine that for many leaders this would already be in place, but having a regular day apart, I think quarterly kind of time when you can step apart and have some space to listen to God, have some time and I think that those markers of clarity and joy are really important ones, right? To just assess, the clarity that's there for you and where joy is coming from, making that regular space in your life to do that, I feel like is a really important practice.
I really like that. So you're talking about a quarterly retreat
Yeah.
of some sort, whether it's to the library for the day, or maybe it's, if you can afford it, take a hotel or something like that. But you're looking at the bigger picture and looking at your quarterly responsibilities and praying through them. And
Yeah, and I found that over time, there's the need to reassess, to make sure that what we originally set out to do is still the right thing for us to be doing, and having that dedicated space to listen to God makes a real difference, I think.
no, I think I totally agree with you. Having run a business here for many years, we have 50 employees, and then we have the ministry side. It gets really, really busy, and you can
Mhm.
set priorities. And I find that about every quarter, I have the same discipline, and I'll withdraw for that quarter and reconsider. It's like a refocus, because things can easily get out of balance, and we've got to keep the main thing, which is the Lord's agenda and His plan and purpose. How can leaders set healthy limits and build strong teams and create rhythms that make larger initiatives sustainable?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's set in terms of setting healthy limits. I mean, it's a practice that I think I originally picked up from some of the writings of Stephen Covey, but the whole idea of recognizing the different roles we have in our lives and making sure that all of those roles are appearing somewhere in our schedule, um, I think helps keep limits in place, so that we're not, having our family or our time and walk with the Lord scheduled out of things, because leadership in these kinds of places can just take over in ways that aren't healthy for us. And so making sure that we've got those things appearing in our schedule, and recognizing when they're not there. Obviously, there's busier seasons that we have, and sometimes our margins get narrowed. But it's really important to not to have that become the norm, but to be paying attention to how to keep those things in our lives.
So, Dave, what kind of larger initiatives have you taken on in True City that have taken on more of pastors' time? That you've, like, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the programming of True
Sure.
City and what some of the larger initiatives might be.
Yeah, I mean, one of the consistent larger initiatives that we have is that we do a conference each year at the end of February, and some of the pastors and other leaders in the city help form a team to discern what the theme of that conference would be, and then to organize all of that. And when the few weeks before, the couple months before the conference, things ramp up in a way that can take over other parts of people's lives. For some of there's a couple of us who have more dedicated time to give, but for the rest of the team, it's a voluntary endeavor. And so just recognizing that's going to make some margins smaller for a season is an important part for those people to be paying attention to.
And probably plan that out ahead and kind of balance it into the overall picture,
Yeah.
rather than just cram.
Yes. Yes. And I think it's really important that there's a recognition within their own communities that this is something that they've taken on, and that there's that they're given that space, and not expected to be piling one thing on top of another.
Yes, we had a leader here in Atlantic Canada that was a very good leader, led a larger church, and he negotiated with his board and said, look, I'd like you to recognize a tithe of my time to the community. And it allowed the church to see, okay, well, there's 4 or 5 hours a week, there's 15, 20 hours a month that, our pastor would be serving the body of Christ in the city in larger ways.
Yeah. And I know for pastors, there's seasons within pastoral ministry where you have more discretionary time, and then there's other seasons, oftentimes, Advent, Christmas season, and around Easter, it's higher demand kinds of seasons for pastors, and so outside demands aren't good to have at those in some of those times, but they do have more discretion of how to use their time in other seasons. So just recognizing those rhythms, I think, is really important.
Well, and I think for city leaders, or those who are creating collective efforts within a city, they need to also be aware that there are certain seasons where pastoral leaders are busy, and maybe try and avoid those for planning city movement times. David, what habits help leaders stay closely connected to God and maintain a sense of calling when the paces and the pressures increase? Because they do from time to time.
Yes, absolutely.
And you don't always know when.
No. And one of the things God's been speaking to me about recently is just a shift in my perspective on what it means to lean into His grace, and to I think I'm sometimes guilty of understanding God's grace as kind of like the safety net under a high wire that's only necessary if I fall off the wire. As opposed to recognizing that God's grace is actively present in my life every day, and that I need to be making space to listen well and to be observant of where His grace is invading my life and calling for me to respond to that. When He's guiding me, maybe through relationships, through things that come up in the course of the day, just opening up opportunities that I'm not wasn't necessarily looking for, but need to respond to. And so that kind of active understanding of grace, and the way that kind of holds a tension between needing to be accepting of the realities that we face on the one hand, and leaning into faithfully responding when the opportunities come up on the other. So I think that kind of posture is really important for us not to beat ourselves up when we can't get to everything, and not to get discouraged when things are not going the way we expected them to.
Well, I think one of the greatest, contributions to the city is the prevailing church and prevailing leadership that are there for the decades, over years. It just brings a stability to the work of the kingdom in a city when you've got leaders who are doing that. And it requires a management of energy
Yeah.
because you just don't know when, you know, a spiritual battle comes up, or there's initiatives in the church that are coming in, or whether it's a family need. Sometimes we just don't get those warnings of when extra load comes in.
I mean, another thing that's been really beneficial for me that's become a resource in our city is just the presence of spiritual directors, and having a spiritual director, someone who you meet with regularly, who's listening with you to what the Spirit's saying in your life, and asking you questions to help you to consider how God's at work. Where's the live edge of what God's up to in our lives. I feel like that kind of relationship is particularly helpful for staying alert to the ways that God's grace is playing out in our lives.
No, I totally agree. It comes out of a Catholic tradition initially, but we're finding here in Atlantic Canada, leaders right across practically every denomination
Mm,
are leaning into spiritual direction because it's an intentional way of letting others speak into our lives and really help us discern what God is saying and doing, and the seasons when things get to be a little too much.
yeah,
And no, that's good. I'm glad to hear that that's happening in Hamilton, because it certainly is here in
yeah.
Halifax. Can you share a story of a leader who navigated a demanding season with surprising strength, and what you saw as the thing that made the difference?
Hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking of a good friend of mine, Leanne, who just in the last few years moved from local church pastoral ministry to a larger denominational role that kind of ramped up the expectations, the leadership expectations on her. And I think the two, in some ways, contrasting things that I saw in her life that really struck me. One was in her new role, there were new resources. So there was a personal assistant and some other kinds of things to assist her in doing the role well. And so one part was learning to use new resources. I think was an important part of that transition for her. But then the other thing was that she continued to stay involved with some of the support groups that she had prior to that move. So friends and coworkers that had played a key role in her life. She continued to make space to meet with some of us, and that kept things grounded for her in that new role. So both of those things I think were really important.
Mm. And yeah, just such an important thing when you're transitioning roles, to be aware of the time and the need for adapting and adjusting and getting perspective. And
Hmm.
so, what advice would you have to young leaders coming into a city, for the first time, and in terms of getting to know other leaders, what's it like to come into a city from another city,
Hmm.
and connecting and integrating, and what kind of steps should we take?
Yeah. Well, I think, and what I've observed is when people are new to a city, there is this I, almost a honeymoon period where you don't yet have lots of new responsibility that kind of gives you an opportunity to connect more broadly to people from other churches, other ministries, to build some initial relationships. The people that I've seen do this well have taken advantage of that opportunity to make those connections, to get out and meet people from other ministries, other churches, and allowed those meetings and those relationships to set the pace a bit for them as to guide them into kind of that broader city perspective. And so I think just coming into a place with a desire to understand, well, what is God up to in our city, and who are the people who are stewarding some of those initiatives that we see God taking. I think that kind of activity is really important.
Mm. And it takes time to earn trust.
Yeah.
Trust in a city is earned, and it's earned over time. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, I think, as you might be aware, I did a bunch of research in this whole area of trust, and I think like you said, it does definitely take time for people to earn that, but it happens in the context initially of relationships, and being willing to step into relationships and to take initiative in areas that people benefit from when we use some of our resources, whether that's the time and energy that we have, or the ministries that we're leading can come to be helpful to these other works that builds up that trust, and creates an opportunity for us to go deeper in those relationships with other people.
Because things tend to move at the speed of trust.
Mm-hmm.
It's an important thing to build and establish in the dynamic of a network.
Yeah, and I think a key piece of trust is being willing to be vulnerable, and that's always hard to do, but to put ourselves in a situation where we need other people to come through for things that we're doing together is crucial for that kind of trust to grow.
What are some last thoughts you might leave as we draw our program to a close together today?
Yeah, I do think that broader perspective of what's happening in the city, and finding some of the hidden ways to be making a difference initially. You were just asking about when you're first coming into the city, and discerning where God's at work in some of the hidden parts of what's going on, and contributing in those places, I think is a really crucial way to be involved in God's economy in the city.
Dave Witt from Hamilton, Ontario at True City. Dave, it's been great to have you here today, and we'll see you next time on The Healthy Christian Leader. Well, today's conversation was fantastic, but we're not finished yet. We'll be back in the next video with the same guest with more discussion about leader health. You know the drill. Subscribe and hit that bell. Would you join us for the next episode? You can find new episodes every week in video form on the Aaron Ministry YouTube page, and in audio form as the Healthy Christian Leader Show, wherever you get your podcasts. Aaron Ministries is an interdenominational network of friends in ministry with a mission to foster healthy Christian leaders. Check out our website, aaronministries.com, for more resources and information on how to donate or to start a healthy Christian leader gathering in your area. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.